Hi, I'm Kirk Harbinger, and this is Bethany Gonyea. She is the founder of the Global Peace Project and also Numinous. So, Bethany, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks, Kirk, for doing this again.
Yes, we've done this a number of years, and we've touched on a number of things too, but today we're here to talk a little bit more about the Peace Project, where you've come from, and what you want to do into the future. So let's start with what inspired you to form the Peace Project.
Well, almost 25 years ago now, I was trained in the field of biofeedback. And biofeedback essentially is the art and science of teaching people how to take their mind and focus it in the body to create change. So on a daily basis, I teach people how to use their mind to lower their blood pressure, to eliminate a migraine headache, to increase blood flow to your hands and feet, and even help people sleep at night. So we're all that powerful. We can impact our health more if we learn about how the mind has impact in the body. So anyways, all of that, I would watch people's mind move throughout the body and have their biofeedback instrument measure things. And I would always be fascinated with that. I mean, think about that. Like your mind, wherever it is, it influences things. So then after a while, it was just a natural kind of outgrowth for me to look into prayer and intentional research, which was about the mind having impact outside of the body. And so that fascinated me. I saw the TM research that has shown that when there's a group of people in an area that they impact the world around them through their thoughts. And I kept waiting for more and more organizations to do more research about how the mind can impact outside the body to create peace. Finally, I saw in 2008, Lynn McTaggart did her book, The Intention Experiment, and started with global peace projects, and I thought, now's the time. Now is the time. I've been wanting to empower people with this information for a very long time, and I really felt like we all needed to know about this technology that lies within us, and how if we use that technology more efficiently and effectively, we can positively influence the world around us.
And so you've talked in the past a little bit about the practice that you had, and it was more one-on-one, and people would pay you, to provide that service. So what's different about what you're doing now and what you want to do with that versus maybe what you've done in the past?
Yeah, well, it would always be so frustrating to me when people would pay me for the private sessions, and part of me just didn't almost always feel so right about that, because I felt like I was just teaching them about their own nervous system. This is your inheritance. This is the technology that we have all been gifted, and the problem is no one's given us the owner's manual on how to use it. And so I was just kind of teaching you about your technology. And so I thought after a while that every person should have this. Every woman, child, man should have this information, the owner's manual to their nervous system, so that they can engage in the world in a far more empowered way than we get taught in the media. We are capable of so much more and so much more elegance and grace in life, but no one taught us how to do that.
Right. Now, tell us a little bit more about the technology of the nervous system, and then also more about the Institute of HeartMath.
Right. Well, what biofeedback teaches us is that we have far more power over our health than we've been taught. So in biofeedback, we come into command of the autonomic nervous system, and we move the body very skillfully into different states. What's neat is that there's an institute known as the Institute of HeartMath in Northern California, and they've done a lot of research on just taking the mind and anchoring into the heart. And they have amazing programs, but they've given us permission to use something called the heart lock-in, which essentially is taking the mind and anchoring it down into the heart and invoking good feelings, the good feelings of love, care, and appreciation. And when we take the mind and anchor it into the heart, we cultivate these what they call restorative emotions. These restorative emotions move the body into more healthier ways of being. And think about that. They're restorative emotions because they restore us. Love, care, appreciation. Sometimes they use integrity, courage, valor. these emotions that when we tether our mind to those emotions and we anchor it into the heart, all this beautiful health, basically the body moves very swiftly into more healthy processes out of the fight or flight response that has a lot of cortisol and is wearing our bodies down, but then into the rest and repair response where we can engage with the world in a much more healthy way and feel good while we're doing it.
Doesn't that make sense? So our mind definitely has impact on the rest of our body. So that's a lot about us, and you're talking about some of the tools that we can use to help ourselves. Tell us about how that might relate to what we're trying to do in the Peace Project.
Right. So what the research suggests is that when we take our mind and anchoring it down into the heart, that when we send peaceful intentions from an open heart, we can have impact on the world around us. And so, for instance, there was one study at the Institute of HeartMath, and what they did was actually have 4 people sit around a card table, and 3 of those people had a heart monitor on, and they were cued. They had earpieces in, and they were all silently cued to move their hearts into greater coherence. And when they did that, the 4th person passively became coherent. Isn't that interesting? So, and they repeated this study 10 times, and every time they got the same result. So this idea that when we become more coherent and we set intentions to be more peaceful and to hold those restorative emotions, we can influence the world around us.
Right. In sports, you when you're surrounded by people who play very well, are true, great athletes, you tend to play up.
Right.
So it
Musicians
seems like
too, right?
Same thing. Yep. So this is exciting. So the Peace Project, what we're doing is we're focusing on intentional coherence in order to do what?
In order to facilitate peace around us. So, and in order to do that, we'd like to measure that. So I work with Dr. Corinne Reinhold, who is a State University of New York professor at Albany, and she's a professor of mathematics and statistics. And we are reviewing crime data in these areas that we're doing these research projects. And so that's our intention, and to not only have people become happier within themselves, but to also have a measurable peace around them as well.
So the measured part is reducing violence, and so we're going to have outcomes with that. On the other side, on the positive, side, what are we looking to fill these communities with? Intentional coherence from all of us provides what to the community in addition to the reduction of violence?
It really impacts the individuals, which is why we have such passionate volunteers. Many people have been positively impacted through the Peace Project, and so they're just on fire to teach other people these skills. I'll give you one example, is this school psychologist that I worked with in Albany. She worked in a very difficult neighborhood school, and the kids were coming to school with no shoes and no food and no winter coats, and she was in compassion fatigue. She's got to document all this and try to provide all these extra needs to these kids. And she was getting so overwhelmed, and she participated in the Albany Peace Project. And she told me, Bethany, the Albany Peace Project changed my whole relationship to Albany. And ever since then, she has been on fire for this work. So the reason why that happens within people is because when you anchor the mind down into the heart and you hold these spaces, you become resilient. Like, that is the definition of resilience. In fact, when I have people hooked to an M-Wave machine, which measures heart rate variability, which has to do with coherence, I'll literally say, you are watching resilience right here on the screen. That when we are able to move into our nervous system and stay in this state that it's very balanced, poised within the nervous system, we can bob and weave, we can ebb and flow. It's kind of like a tennis player that could go a backhand or a right hand. Your nervous system is flexible, it's fluid, it's able to kind of move with the stressors in your life. Stress very often makes us kind of frozen and fixed and focused, or kind of very narrowly focused. An open nervous system is, again, it's more open. It's able to take in more from its environment and send it back and dance with it. Adjust with it. Yep.
Well, this is great. So we can actually help ourselves by helping others.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
It's all good. You know, it's interesting. I'm going through a real challenging time in my life, and with a passing of a family member, and I have been sending intentions to that person, and I got to tell you, it's made all the difference in the world. So, during a period of time in your life when things are really, 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 really grieving and sad and all that, to be able to send love and light, it completely switches my nervous system around, and I'm able to kind of offer that person the highest and best I've got, and my nervous system stays in a buoyant, resilient place. That's where I've seen the magic of this work. That I often encourage people to become intolerant of feeling miserable. That we think it's normal to walk around with what I call the grumblies, this constant, like, bitching at ourselves, and I call it the inner terrorist, right? Right? And we're so used to being grumbly, have this grumbly voice, and I've become intolerant of it, right? So I'm going through this period of time, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to send intentions. I could sit here and worry and grieve and feel sad, or I can send love and light. And it's held me so well. It's amazing.
Well, if you fill yourself with love and light, there's no room for the negative stuff. Right?
Right. And you're offering the highest and best to someone. I mean, what, is my worry going to help that person? No. Right?
So how can we translate this work for ourselves into the Peace Project? What are you looking to do?
My intention is to empower as many people as possible with this work. It's so elegant, and it's so amazing, and it's literally underneath all of our nose. So we are doing that in many, many different ways. One is where we are teaching people about our protocol for the meditation through a meditation leader training. So we're teaching that. We're also teaching people how to be meditation or city leaders. We're calling them city liaisons, where they can run a peace project in their own city, and we'll be empowering them with all of what we've learned over the last several years on how to run a peace project. And so you don't have to get caught where we did. You can get up and running much faster. And then we also are starting something called our Intentional Coherence Athlete Program, which we're running 3 times a year, where we are teaching people how to become coherent and use intention in their own lives on a day-to-day basis, and also receive intentions from others. And we've done one pilot program. It has gone so incredibly well. People were asking to keep it going because we've had amazing results. We are all far more powerful than we've been taught. And when people learn to engage in this way using intention, not so much of the grit of this world, the physicality, but when you can start relying on who you are and your connection to the whole, it makes life a whole lot more interesting and a lot more fun.
Yeah, well, exciting. So it looks like there are 3 sort of roles in particular that folks can sign up for at the most beginning basic level. We can train them on the protocol.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can become involved. And by the way, that helps you.
Yes, exactly.
Also
Absolutely.
In what you practice. And then sort of a next level would be the city leader.
Yep.
Okay. And certainly take part in the meditation part of it.
Yep.
But also a little bit more on the organizing side.
Yep, you can network, basically bring this beautiful work out into the city and talk. It's a way to open the door to people that maybe you wouldn't have access to. It's a wonderful way to start a conversation with people, networking in your city and things like that.
Great. And then the third level was the intentionally coherent athlete.
Yes. Good. Yes, that's when people really get the personal results. That's when they get super excited about doing a peace project, because then they've experienced it and they know how it works, and you just want to naturally share it with others. That's the interesting thing about meditation. You just get up and you just want to serve.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's different than Netflix. When we watch Netflix, oftentimes we're tired and we get a little depressed. When you get up for meditation, you often want to get up and serve. It's an amazing.
And do more.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. So. Final thoughts on the Peace Project and the intent of it. It sounds like what we're really trying to do is not just provide for an absence of violence, but there's much more to it also.
Yeah, I mean, people often think that peace is just the absence of violence. But if you really look at that, you realize that that's not true, because you can sense when there's violence right underneath the surface, right? So that would look like peace because there's no violence, but there's stuff brewing right underneath. what we're doing with the Peace Project is we're teaching people that peace is an active state. It's something you embody. It's something that you live in. It's like feeling it in your skin as you go out into the world. And so that I think is a very important point, because why, and I've thought about this, why would we ever consider of approaching violence from anything other than peace in the heart, right? Because you know, incarceration with no therapy or things like that, like how would that change people's hearts? So then how would that change people's behavior, right? And I've seen it happen over and over again, that the side effect of this work is people become more kind. They become more tolerant, not just mentally tolerant, like heart tolerant. Like they can hold you in a different space because they're willing to be present with themselves. They'll be more present with you. So yeah, this idea that violence really, that this could start a wave of peace by just teaching people how to be peaceful. Like, why have we missed that for so long?
Just
I'm
like
sorry.
violence begets violence.
Right.
Peace begets peace.
Right.
Yeah?
Right. And then teaching people how to find this beautiful place within. I mean, like, why are we waiting? That's always my question.
Perfect. Well, let's not wait.
Yes.
Let's move forward, and let's do this work. So this is very exciting. We certainly look forward to having more folks involved in the project itself.
Yes.
A few different roles at a minimum to become involved in. Anything else that anyone else out there needs to know?
Just give it a try.
Yeah.
Just give it a try. Follow the meditations and practice, and you will be amazed at how you'll be able to kind of go through some really challenging times, but feel a dignity and integrity inside of yourself that maybe you haven't felt before.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Bethany, for being with us today, and we're very excited about the future with the Peace Project.
I am. It makes me be able to watch the news at night and feel like we're doing something to make a difference.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Best to you all.
Thanks. We are capable of so much more and so much more elegance and grace in life, but no one taught us how to do that.
Right. Okay, let's turn that off.
All right. So
So tell us a little bit more about the Peace Project itself, the goals that you have in the short term and also through the next year or two.
Yeah, so the Peace Projects. Funny. But sorry, an edit.
It's not funny. It's not funny.
Edit. All right.
Okay.
Damn it. I ever do.
It's bound to happen.